We would snatch 200,000 acres of Indian territory, which we have deemed unsafe for their use at this time. They're such children.
200,000 acres? 200,000 acres? What'll it cost, man?
She finishes the song, it's a rehearsal, so you can talk, and I scream out, "Anne Bancroft!"
At 98, Mel Brooks isn't pulling any punches. The comedy legend, famous for turning mayhem into movie magic, has finally let slip the 6 actors who, in his words, drove him up the wall. It's a list no one expected, packed with big names who shaped Hollywood history and tested Mel's sanity. What's shocking? This isn't about feuds or egos. These 6 stars weren't villains. They were brilliant, maddening forces that pushed Mel to his limits. One of them? A friend who couldn't stop wrecking scenes with laughter. Curious? Get ready for a wild ride through decades of creative chaos as Mel spills the stories behind the genius and the grief. Number 6. Richard Pryor. Richard Pryor played a crucial but complicated role in Mel Brooks's career, particularly during the making of Blazing Saddles.
Chairman of the Welcoming Committee, it is my privilege to extend a laurel and hearty handshake to our new...
Although Pryor didn't appear on screen in the film, his influence was felt in nearly every line of dialogue and every daring piece of humor. As a co-writer on the project, Richard infused the script with his razor-sharp wit, his fearless commentary on race, and his signature edge. As Mel Brooks recalled, he came up with crazy stuff like Mongo only pawn in Game of Life. Mel often credited Richard's contributions as being essential to the film's bold tone. However, working with Pryor came with its share of challenges. His unpredictable behavior, combined with personal struggles, made the writing process both exhilarating and chaotic for Mel and the rest of the team. Pryor was initially considered for the lead role of Bart, the black sheriff who upends a racist town. Mel wanted him for the part, convinced that no one else could deliver the humor and heart the role demanded. However, studio executives refused to approve Pryor for the lead. Mel later said bluntly, Warner Brothers refused to give Pryor the role of Black Bart, which Pryor had written for himself, because he was a known sniffer. They cited concerns over his reputation, particularly his struggles with substance abuse and his history of erratic behavior. Rumors circulated that Richard missed important meetings or arrived late for writing sessions, contributing to the studio's decision. Mel fought to keep Pryor as part of the film, but ultimately had to cast Cleavon Little in the lead. Though Cleavon brought his own brilliance to the role, Mel often reflected on what might have been had Richard played Bart as originally intended. In the writer's room, Richard's genius was undeniable, but so was the chaos that often accompanied him. Those present during script development said that Pryor's energy could swing wildly from inspired bursts of creativity to periods of distraction or silence. Rumors from the writing team suggested that sessions could be derailed when Pryor disappeared for long stretches or arrived in no condition to work. Yet when he was focused, his contributions shaped some of the most memorable, audacious moments of the film. Mel valued Pryor's ability to cut through polite humor and go straight to the uncomfortable truths that made Blazing Saddles both hilarious and revolutionary. There were also stories that Pryor, despite being officially removed from consideration for the lead role, continued to lobby behind the scenes for a chance to play Bart. Some whispered that he even offered to take a reduced fee if it meant securing the part, hoping to change the studio's mind. These efforts were unsuccessful, but they revealed how much Richard believed in the project and how deeply he felt connected to the character. Even without appearing on camera, his voice echoed through the film, giving it an authenticity and bite that might not have existed without him. As one whirlwind of creative chaos settled, another was about to take center stage in a way only Mel Brooks could endure. Number 5. Dom DeLuise. Dom DeLuise was one of Mel Brooks's most beloved collaborators, but also one of the actors who gave him the most trouble on set. Known for his infectious energy and booming laughter, Dom was both a gift and a challenge for any director, especially one like Mel who thrived on creative chaos but still needed some sense of control. Dom appeared in several of Mel's films including Silent Movie, History of the World, Part 1, Spaceballs, and Robin Hood, Men in Tights.
Cut! What in the hell do you think you're doing here? This is a closed set.
On you. I'm working for Mel Brooks.
Not in the face.
Every time they worked together, Dom's presence brought warmth and humor to the set, and at the same time, a kind of unpredictable madness that often slowed things down. His ability to find everything funny, even during serious or critical moments in a scene, became a running headache for Mel. As Mel Brooks himself put it, he created so much joy and laughter on the set that you couldn't get your work done. So every time I made a movie with Dom, I would plan another 2 days on the schedule just for laughter. What made Dom so difficult was his inability to hold back his laughter, especially when paired with other comic greats like Meline Khan or Harvey Korman. It wasn't that he was laughing at his own lines. He was often reacting to the sheer absurdity or brilliance of his fellow actors. Mel reportedly had to shoot take after take because Dom would break down in giggles before a scene even started. There were moments during filming, especially on History of the World. Part 1, when Dom's laughter delayed production for significant stretches of time. A well-known example involved a simple line that Dom could not deliver without collapsing in laughter, causing the crew to halt shooting for nearly an hour while he composed himself. This constant interruption frustrated Mel, but once they captured a clean take, it was usually comedy gold. Dom's irrepressible spirit extended beyond just breaking character. Rumors from those who worked on set suggested that he sometimes encouraged mischief behind the scenes, rallying other actors and crew members into impromptu gags or pranks that further delayed production. While none of this was done out of malice, it added to the sense of chaos. Mel, who valued improvisation and spontaneity in his films, found himself torn between enjoying Dom's natural exuberance and struggling to keep the shoot on schedule. Number 4. Meline Khan. Meline Khan was one of Mel Brooks' most talented and unforgettable collaborators, a brilliant actress whose sharp instincts and incredible comic timing elevated every project she touched. She starred in some of Mel's most iconic films, including Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein, High Anxiety, and History of the World. Part 1. On screen, she was magnetic. Her ability to blend vulnerability, elegance, and outrageous humor created characters that became comedy classics. However, behind the scenes, working with Meline could be as challenging as it was rewarding. Mel often described her as both a joy and a source of endless frustration because her perfectionism and strong opinions frequently clashed with his fast-paced, improvisational style.
But when I auditioned her, I said, Meline, I don't, there's only one thing you got to do for me. Show me your legs, hike up your skirt. She said, oh, it's going to be one of those auditions.
Meline was known for her meticulous approach to her work. She wasn't content to simply follow a script or take direction without question. As Meline herself once said, "I never feel like I've arrived. I'm always striving for something more." Every line, gesture, and costume detail mattered to her, and she wasn't shy about asking for changes if something didn't feel right. She often debated dialogue with Mel, suggesting rewrites or alternate deliveries that she felt would serve the character better. While Mel admired her dedication and usually found her instincts to be spot on, these debates could slow down filming significantly. Rumors from the set claimed that Meline occasionally held up production over seemingly minor issues, such as refusing to enter a scene until a prop or piece of furniture was exactly as she envisioned it. These moments, while frustrating, often resulted in scenes that were richer and more memorable because of her attention to detail. In addition to her artistic perfectionism, Meline was also known for being fashionably late. Crew members reportedly waited in full readiness as she took her time arriving on set, sometimes appearing completely relaxed while everyone else scrambled to keep to the day's schedule. This habit became a source of ongoing tension between her and Mel. While he thrived on energy and spontaneity, Meline worked best when she felt everything was just right, and that difference in rhythm led to frequent creative clashes. Some who worked with them whispered that their dynamic felt like a chess match. Each move met with a counter, each suggestion with a new argument or idea. And yet, despite the friction, the results spoke for themselves. Rumors also swirled that Meline sometimes took over scenes, not only focusing on her performance but offering suggestions to other actors about their deliveries or staging. While she meant well and aimed to improve the overall scene, this could irritate directors and fellow cast members who weren't expecting unsolicited guidance. Just when Mel thought he'd navigated one force of nature, another was ready to challenge him in entirely new ways. Number 3. Floris Leechman.
I started working with Mel Brooks a year later, and I haven't won one since. There are many great writers and directors who are funny, but only one, Mel. He is frigging funny.
Floris Leechman was one of the most distinctive talents Mel Brooks ever worked with, and also one of the most challenging. Her performances in films like Young Frankenstein, High Anxiety, and History of the World, Part 1 are still celebrated today for their unique mix of intensity, strangeness, and sharp humor. On screen, Floris could steal a scene with just a look or a pause. Off screen, however, she was known for being fiercely independent and unafraid to challenge a director, even someone as quick-witted and experienced as Mel. Their working relationship was marked by constant negotiations, as Floris often had strong ideas about her characters that clashed with Mel's vision. One of the most memorable examples of this dynamic came during the filming of Young Frankenstein, where Floris played the iconic Frau Blücher. She had a very specific idea of who the character should be: darker, more serious, and filled with hidden pain. Mel, on the other hand, wanted Frau Blücher to be funny and unsettling in equal measure, with an exaggerated oddness that would keep audiences off balance. Rumors from the set claimed that Floris pushed hard for more dramatic elements in her scenes, sometimes resisting direction that leaned too far into slapstick or absurdity. These creative differences reportedly led to